And you've just heard The Visitant, the opening track on Cahill Costello's album Offworld. And I'm now joined by Kevin Daniel Cahill and Graham Costello. Hello, both.
How are you getting on?
Good.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Oh man, it's great to be here.
So before we talk about Offworld, how did the two of you meet and start to play together?
Kev, you want to take that one?
I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible. Me and Graham studied together at the Conservatoire in Glasgow, but didn't actually really know each other while we were there, so we sort of passed each other by. And I think it was my last year, the fourth year, and Graham had started up his residency in Block with Strata. And it was the first night, and I think I got a text from Graham basically just saying, I want you to open the set with some classical guitar. And I didn't think Graham knew what classical guitar was, because I knew what his band was like and the kind of stuff that he played. And I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want classical guitar? And he was like, I'm sure. And I was like, do you know what classical guitar is? Like, I don't know if it'll fit in. And he was like, no, I know exactly what it is. And then it was really good because I was at that time, and I still am, I was very keen on playing classical guitar and contemporary guitar in like places that you normally wouldn't have it. For example, like in Block, so you wouldn't expect to have it there. But my thinking and feeling was like, if people can hear it there, then maybe it will encourage them to go different places to hear it, because it's not usually that accessible unless you go to like a classical venue or something. And then from then, I think he played on a couple of my solo records, like some session work, and he helped me out on like Future Relics and some of the other stuff that you've heard.
Yeah.
And then I think we did a session for an EP that I did, and there was one tune which was the first thing we released. We recorded it as part of that session, and it was a kind of free-form improvisation. And Graham had said in that session, I think we both felt that there was definitely something more there to discover, because all the other stuff I kind of wrote was very post-rock driven music, and it was very sort of mapped out. And the last track, it's called EO2. That was very, very free, and I just kind of played on my own, and Graham played on his own, and it was very improvised. And I think from then on we both knew there was something, and that was kind of like the birth of the duo, more or less. Is that right, Graham?
Yeah, I definitely think as soon as we played that track, or even when we recorded it, even during the recording of it, that specific track, EO2, I think we both knew there was definitely something there, and it was different more different to Kev's solo music that he was putting out. And I just thought we need to kind of really dive into this and develop it a bit more, because there really is something here. So it definitely was the birth of the duo, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because Offworld, I've got my copy here, very good.
Oh, there is.
Some man.
But it's quite different from stuff you've both previously done with different projects and different things. So let's talk a bit about Offworld. How do you describe it to people? You can do my job for me. How do you describe the album and the music on it?
It's like that's always a hard one, but I would always lean towards it being just ambient minimal music played by drums and played by guitar and tape loop. Everything else is very much, you can get into more descriptive words, but I think at the core heart of it is ambient minimal music, I would say.
Yeah, I think another side of that, for like that would be a really good way to like describe the aesthetic, but a good way I think to describe the way it's played or the intent behind the composition is like, it's very emotive and very kind of, for lack of a better term, it's very like, I find it's very from the heart, and it's really personal.
It's honest, isn't it? It's very honest.
It's not overthought in any way. Like, I don't think any of the stuff that I've did on my solo stuff before is overthought in a way. It's all very kind of like off the cuff if it feels right. But this is more like, I mean, the whole album was recorded basically as a live set, and we wanted it to have that played sound, because I didn't really want to make an album that we couldn't tour or play with just with the both of us. I didn't want to make like a studio album that we couldn't recreate live. So it's very of the moment, I think, as well.
Look at that whole thing, because I read that, you know, you recorded it as live. And what do you think that brought to it, apart from the practical sense of that you can play it? There was something that happens with a live performance that maybe wouldn't otherwise?
I think like you run the risk of like wanting to do overdubs or wanting to change something. And more importantly for me, it's like, if Graham's playing, like, I think there's a tune on there called Pavan 2. And in that, I think I'm very conscious of what Graham's doing. So I don't want to have to ask too much of Graham. And I guess likewise, like, because if I want to take something again and I need to ask him to play it again, and maybe he was feeling it in that moment. And so I think it's more like I wanted it to be like a photograph, like a snapshot in time. And that's what it is. And obviously if a lamp fell down or someone screamed or something, we would have to do it again. But if it's pretty good and it feels right, then I think you should just cut it, like, because you run the risk of over and over doing it again, you know what I mean?
That was a big part of the process, actually. It was very organic. If one of us had an idea, it was very quick to being recorded. It was like a lot of my drum parts and the rhythmic ideas on it were at times a complete just reaction to what Kev had played to me or pitched to me. And it'd be like, for The Visitant, that drum beat is literally the first drum beat that I played when I heard and got to know the tape loop that's part of that song. It was not too contrived. It was everything on that album, I think, was very organically created and then recorded. Not much fat at all or too much overthinking or anything like that.
And you mentioned that, you know, if there had been some distraction, you might have had to stop. But where you recorded it, you were unlikely to have an ambulance going by the window or anything like that.
I know.
A very special place. Tell us about where it was recorded and how you got to record it there.
Yeah, so it's a place in Ardnamurchan in the west of Scotland, and it's like a peninsula. And it's like a house that was built there like before the war by a woman called M.A.M. Donaldson, and she was like a sort of a photographer and a writer and an ethnographer as well, and she kind of documented the Highland life like post before the war and after the war as well. So she built the house, and it's I from like friends from years ago, it's like they own the house, so I used to always go there for like New Year and holidays and stuff, and I would always say someone should record an album here, and then gradually I was like, the person should be me. Like that kind of thing. So we were lucky enough to get to go there and record there, and it was really special because we lived together for like a week. So we didn't really rehearse, but we just tried out ideas, and all our equipment was all, you've got the vinyl, so the insert, you can see the pictures of the room and stuff. Like everything was just set up, and we would like have some coffee or food, and if we wanted to walk in and play, we would play, and it was all very relaxed. Like it's a very nice way to work. I really like working in a studio environment and it being like on the money and that kind of thing, but I quite like the freedom. I think it really helped make that sound in the album possible for me anyway.
Like more so than any other recording session I've ever done. For something like ambient music, the environment that you're recording in is so important, like more important than maybe a session that I'm just doing overdub drums, or even for my own band Strata. Like obviously the environment's important there, but especially for ambient music where it's literally all about the vibe. If anything would alter that or mess with that, if you're not feeling it, then you can't really play it.
Yeah,
it's quite different.
Because when I was reading the notes that are on the kind of inner sleeve or the thing that comes with it, it made me think of like writers' retreats where people would go to places just to be able to concentrate on what they're doing, which I guess this allowed you both to do.
Yeah, that was exactly it, pretty much. And we wanted to take inspiration from, like I said before, like the kind of snapshot thing. Like for me, I knew a lot about the woman who built the house years ago, M.A.M. Donaldson, and she did document what it was like up there, and that was a big part of it for me, to make sure that we time-stamped that album. Like even the album cover is just like an analog picture of us in the sea in Sana, the back of it is just out the back of the house, and the liner notes. So everything is like a very sort of documented archive of that time for us, and I think it was really special.
Yeah, I think that's really what comes across, is that it's not just the music, it's the story behind it, and as you say, the beautiful pictures on the album cover, and it is this ambient piece of music that really seems to be taking the ambience from where you've recorded it.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. I mean, it's just a really special place, and to play that specific type of music, there's a nature of too. Me and Kev are very aware that you can definitely over rehearse this stuff. So we were very wary not to write. Didn't really come into this session with many ideas at all, because then it wouldn't have the same feeling of that organic feeling that we had when writing and recording pretty much at the same time. And if you can, that was also part of the, if we come up with an idea, it's very quickly recorded. It wasn't, we come up with an idea and then rehearse it for the full day and then record it. It was such a kind of record session that I think that's what adds to the feeling of the record in its entirety.
And this was recorded in the summer of last year, is that right?
Yeah.
There was a window.
I'm not going to catch you out for anything.
No. I just worried about that. There was a window where it was safe, and we changed the dates changed quite a few times because of it when we were going to do it, but because it was like within like a friend group that we could use the house, it was pretty doable and easy. But there was a window where we managed to get in, and still to this day I don't know how we managed it. It was like perfect, and then when we came out, everything locked down again, so it was like really lucky.
Between the first and second lockdown, wasn't it? That's a matter of weeks, wasn't it? Maybe a maximum month. So to get that, with all the people, with Luigi Pasquini as well, the recording engineer, to get him as well at that time was pretty crazy. To
get him to do anything, no, even within a pandemic, is tricky. So I don't know how we pulled that off either.
But I was thinking that actually, as the world was, going crazy elsewhere, it felt like the perfect place to be, even if it was for a short period of time. And that you could concentrate on the music like few others could. Even people who were making music at home or managed to get for a brief period of time into studios, but they were having to drive the streets or walk the streets or whatever there was in cities or in towns. It literally was a case of we can pretend that's not going on almost. Is that was how
it felt like that. It felt like a privilege more than anything, really, to be able to do it genuinely. But it did kind of feel like it was that it does make it more special. It just felt like a dream, like a proper dream. It was crazy.
I think I'd come from. Am I right in saying, Kev, was I literally recording the Strata album the week prior? So it was they were very close together, either mixing or something. It was, and I'd come from London, which is a very different place compared to Sahana. So not only did it have that retreat, but the environment was just so different, and it really did inform the music, I think.
And I think what you've made there is a kind of an album that sounds timeless, possibly because of all those reasons you've said, how you wanted to record it, where you recorded it, and the fact that both of you clearly work so well together on it.
Okay.
I think it's music that you can listen to in many different ways as well.
Yeah.
You can. I don't think it's I never take it the wrong way if someone saying like it's nice having it on in the background or something. I think that's got its own very, very legitimate way of listening to music as well. But at the same time, you can also really have a sat down, very focused listening to it as well, and you'll hear and find different things in the music, also depending on how you listen to it. But and how we perform it as well, as we're still developing that. But I think maybe Kev was saying before we started recording, the environment of even our live performances is probably important to us, and how we present the music in the live environment.
Because let's talk about that then, because you are going to be playing it live. You're taking it on the road.
Yeah, we're organising some shows right now, and I think the special thing about that is that every performance is different. Like from the way that we play each pieces, and then I've got like different, a lot of it is improvised in a sense. Like I've got different like tape loops and different soundscapes that I'd kind of make on the spot, and Graham responds, and we kind of weave them in and out songs that we've already had that are on the album. So like I kind of like to think that every show that we play live will be different in some way, because I'm a very bad musician that I don't play the same thing. I can't play the same thing all the time twice. I can't play the right thing twice. So I'll always play it slightly differently, or I might just be feeling a different way. We might take it a different tempo or something, but it's not sort of stock.
Pieces can be maybe a 5-minute piece on the album could turn into a 15-minute piece, simply with us stretching how we're playing it, and it's how we're feeling on the day as well, which might inform how certain parts of the music come out of us. It's trying to describe it is really hard, but it's so how we're feeling, where we're performing it, etc. is so intrinsic to then how the music is. I think more so than any other thing that I'm involved in. I think I would say that's right. Do you agree, Kev, with the way?
Yeah, for me, and just what you're saying, like coming from like classical guitar where you practice 5-6 hours a day and play concerts, and if you hit the wrong fret or squeak a string, the people in the audience are like, "Oh, you buzzed that note.
Gig's ruined. I missed that one note."
you play for an hour and you make one mistake, and that's all you think about. Like I think for me, for years studying classical and like doing a masters and stuff, that the way I'm playing and the way I'm writing now, or the way we play, is for me a response of years of doing that. It's kind of like the polar opposite.
Probably something similar to how I come from playing noisier music and then jazz, and how it's probably a similar way where I try to play as little or as less as minimal as possible. And a lot of this, it could be the same drum beat over and over and over again with literally not one beat added or taken away. To me, it's very important to have that kind of hypnotic repetition in this music. And if anything, and me and Kev are very much on the same wavelength when it comes to ways to perform minimal music, because a single note added at a certain time could just shatter the effect of what's happening, I think. But at the same time, it's still very organic. So like, it's very hard music to describe. But
what people can do is just come along to the shows and they can hear it for themselves.
Come and hear it, come and see it.
Well, guys, it's been fantastic catching up with you and talking to you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And this is Cahill, Costello, and Avin Son.